correctly pronounce my name, you do that, I give you $100.
Okay.
Okay. So what's your name? I mean, what's your name?
My name?
Yeah. Not spill. From which country?
South Africa.
Oh, I've been to South Africa. You know Wilmore Park?
Yeah.
Wilmore Park?
Yes.
Yeah, the Nigerian cricket national team, we come to play in South Africa. We got great players. I go to Ekudeni, you know, all those wonderful places. My name is Oluwaseun. You said what? You pronounce it? You said? Okay, thank you. They play. You said? Okay, they play. Who else?
What does it mean?
They play as in Joe. Dancing. Okay, you tried that sound before. You said what? You are getting there. You are getting there. Oh, you are not there. Who wants to give the child again? Who else? Who else? Who else? You said what? I'm going to detain you. From Stellenbosch. Alright, my correct, she's close. Oh. Why are you giving, what's your name? I presume you are from Nigeria. Why are you doing that? She's South African. Yes. Okay, speak Swahili with me.
Yes. We don't speak Swahili.
Okay. Alright, so I'm from Nigeria, but I know, is anybody here from Rwanda? Nobody. Oh, I love to see people from Rwanda. In Rwanda, we say Moramutse. Moramutse. That is good morning. Moramutse. Moramutse. And if I ask you, Amakuru, Amakuru means how are you? You answer by telling me Nimeza. I'm fine. And in case I didn't mention anyone's name, they always ask in one that, say, you're calling my, have you heard any song like Spyro? Who's your guy? Oh, who are the people taking you around? They should have been, who's your guy? Now only me, wala, cause he like beans and rice. I will never leave your side. You heard that song before? You seem to understand better. So in Rwanda, they will ask you, why didn't you mention my name? That is Kuchi Utafuga Zinia Iyangi. Kuchi Utafuga Zinia Iyangi. That is why did you not mention my name? Then you now say, Ndavenera. That is all of you. They are my guys. But I think my name is Oluwaseun. I want to know the people that are here. This is EWAN, Education Rights Association of Nigeria. These are wonderful people that write about anything that has to do with education. And you know you are in University of Lagos, University of First Choice, and the nation's pride. ASOON is saying when next you are coming for Umoja, you'll be assessing Unilag like you. Approved? Approved. Okay. Where do I start from? Sorry, may I please meet you? My name is Oluwaseun. Your name and which country?
Thank you, Oluwaseun. I am Sudanese Control from South Africa.
Oh, I love South Africa.
I'm from South Africa.
Oh, super, from South Africa. The Proteas, the Springboks, the Bayana Bayana, the Bafana Bafana. Oh, which country? I love South Africa. Oh, South Africa. One of my very good friends is Robert Maraba. South Africa. Oh, lovely, from South Africa. I love that.
Hi, I'm Spurgeon Helen. I'm also from South Africa.
Oh, I love South Africa. Oh, lovely. Oh, originally in the country? Oh, Zimbabwe. Hardlines didn't qualify for cricket world.
I'm also from South
Lovely.
So, school my daughter.
Absolutely. From Nigeria. Lovely, from Nigeria. Okay. I'm loving this. Nigeria. Excellent. Excellent. I love that from South Africa. Fantastic from South Africa. Love that from South Africa. This person is from Nigeria. Okay.
I'm Mighty October.
Okay, from South Africa. I love that. My God. Oh, some Nigeria, but we've got in South African Airways. Okay. From Nigeria, I'm a piano. Okay. From Nigeria. From Nigeria. Excellent. I love that. I love that. And what about you? From Nigeria. Okay. Okay. I'll be introducing people who are seated right in front of us here. Okay. Is there anybody here that I've not asked who the person's name is? Okay. So, all right. I have one of the we call them organs here. Let me start by introducing them. I have my senior colleague who will soon take over, but we have Skills and Entrepreneurial Center, and the director is here, Professor Sunday at DBC. Can we please give him a round of applause? He's here with us. Thank you. This is about students. The Dean Student Affairs Division, the man who has over 50,000 children. Are you surprised? Why do you say you are not surprised? Did it not come absurd that somebody has over 50,000 children? Okay, give me the reason why you say it's not absurd. And you get it. What have you taken Amala before? Would you like to take Amala? Yam flour? What Nigerian food have you eating? No, rice is common for everybody. What? Jollof rice? No. Jollof rice is common. Jollof rice is common. You said what? The yam. You love me, right? Okay. She wanted to mention something. Okay. I'm sure that you are enjoying a lot of things. Who was that? You take Amala? Pounded yam? Okay. So she had it and she loved it. Don't worry. You're gonna have more. So why is it not absurd that somebody has over 50,000 children?
Because if you see yourself as a father taking a servant leader role in a university, then everybody in the university, their children, is considered to be a child of you, and you want to give the best as a university to that child for that child's future.
I'm going to give you a chieftaincy title. What chieftaincy title do you want in Nigeria? So you can take back to South Africa.
What do I want?
Chieftaincy title. I want to give you a chieftaincy title. Okay. So, the Dean Student Affairs Division, of the University of First Choice and the Nation's Pride. Why I said we have over 50,000 children is from the undergraduate to the postgraduate is to pretend over all of them, and it ensures that their safety, their comfortability is his watchword. Can we please give Professor Musa Obalola a round of applause? We have people who assist him in the office. The deputy Dean 1 is not here, but the deputy Dean 2 is here. Beautiful, intelligent, soft-spoken, amiable, accommodating, empathetic, benevolent, magnanimous, understanding. Dr. Nelson Mandela. Is she beautiful or she not beautiful? Thank you. Sharp. Okay. Just one thing, we thought I would not notice it. We have international relation, partnership, and prospect. That person who has been liaising with you, ensuring that here in Nigeria, you are having fun. Professor Ibrahim Ismail. Can we give him a round of applause? It's looking sharp, right? Yes. Sharp. Okay. We also have here the communications department. They are the ones that have been positively projecting all that have been happening from day one up until this day. Even prior to the start of this event, the principal assistant registrar is here. Adejoke Alaga Ibrahim. Can we please give a round of applause? And the team, all of them here, Jennifer, Miriam, Solomon, all of them have been doing a wonderful job. If you visit our website on a daily basis, on our YouTube page, you'll be seeing all that's been happening. Okay. We have also from our counseling department, we have a department that counsels people. You know, everybody can guide, but not everybody can counsel. It's a specialized profession. And these people, they counsel a lot of people. Like me, people are owing me and they don't want to pay me to give me high blood pressure. So they counsel me to say, don't worry, we will pay you. Mrs. Arebeshola is here. Let's give her a round of applause. Mr. Omotola is also here. Let's give a round of applause from the counseling department. And from Student Affairs Bishop, Mrs. Fakulade is here. Let's give her a round of applause. This man here has worked tirelessly in ensuring that this event was a success. He assisted Professor Ibrahim. Let's give Mr. Abdulatif a round of applause. Thank you. We have our certificate and verification office. All right. The man we are waiting for is around. So, my job is somewhat done. But my big boss here will be introducing the members of the EWAN that are here. If you have loved what I served you this morning, I will say big thank you. I will definitely be back. But at this juncture, I have to say, adios amigos. Gracias, obrigado, diamonga, danke, merci. God bless you.
Once again, my name is Abiola Ismail. I want to believe we all be enjoying it. Julian, you're just going to be the first time. Apart from rice, jollof rice, I know you must have been taking but we still going to ask you to tell us. Somebody said, you must have said, Pounded yam, do you know yam flour, pounded yam, pounded yam. No, pounded yam.
Oh, pounded yam, yeah.
I don't want to waste much of our time in a regular schedule, but I have two things, one or two here. We have Professor Peter Mark Henry, Professor of Law, University of London. You're welcome, sir. We also have a past chairman of Education Writers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Olatunbosu. You're welcome, sir. And we have Mr. Mojib Alabi, who is the current chairman of Education Writers Association of Nigeria. You're welcome. Now, today, we're looking at making more Mandelas. That's our topic. And to open the floor, we would like to call on a volunteer who can give us some of the answer. Anyone? Some of them. To have the block open, we have to have the Vice Chancellor's remark, and we have Professor Musa Obalola standing in for the Vice Chancellor to give us the opening remarks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Unfortunately for me this morning, there is no protocol that I can align myself with. I used to say that I prefer to align with the protocols already established. Because most people, you see them standing on it. So if you continue to stand on it, I'm sure at the time I'm going to break it. So I prefer to align myself with it. But unfortunately, there's none that I can align with this morning. Having said that, I want to start by recognizing the Vice Chancellor, the acting Vice Chancellor, our neighbor, our elegant, our beautiful Vice Chancellor, Professor Tolulope Folashade Ogunsola, OON, FAS, other members of management are also not here at the moment, Director of IDS, who was our host yesterday, the Director of Entrepreneurship and Skills Center, Professor Sunday Adebisi, and others who are at this meeting. Particularly our hosts from our guests from other universities across the world. Well, today is a remarkable day because here we are recognizing one of our own. At different times in the history of mankind, we have seen great leaders, great icons, people that we can look up to, people of great character. Because we can remember someone like Winston Churchill, you can remember George Washington, Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, and of course one of our own, Nelson Mandela. Yes, one of our own, Nelson Mandela. And quite often, it is said that what we look at is not what matters, but what we see. So, if I may ask you, what did you see in Nelson Mandela? But I will tell you first what I see. But before that, let me tell you what I did not see that we see in most of our leaders today. I did not see in him how he has amassed wealth. I did not see in him how many houses he has built or how many cars he owns. I did not see in him how he has converted the natural resources that South Africa is known for, which is diamond. I didn't see that in him. However, I saw in him freedom. I saw in him empathy. I saw in him positive impact, love for humanity, freedom, and most importantly, love. So I don't know how you are going to describe him, what you see in him. Of course, we have reflected on his life. What did you see in Nelson Mandela? That is worth celebrating. The man is today the global icon, and we are celebrating him. We are coming together, particularly with the youth. What can we take away from the life of Nelson Mandela that we want to emulate? You say we want more of Mandela. How do you live your life such that you be like Nelson Mandela? That is what we're here for today. So on that note, I want to welcome every one of us to this important gathering and hoping that at the end of the day, you will take something that is positive out of this place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, sir. And from South Africa, we have Mrs. Siwa Amani, Deputy Consul General.
Good morning, everyone. Luckily for me, I can stand on existing protocol. Professor. Good morning to everybody. Yesterday we commemorated Nelson Mandela Day. I want to take this time to thank the staff and all of the students from the various universities. I think it's always such a memorable task when you have to talk about Nelson Mandela, who Nelson Mandela was. 2023 marks a very remarkable year in his life. Yesterday he would have been 105 years, but this year also marks 10 years since he passed away. So when we look at Nelson Mandela, we reflect on the gains and the losses of his life, who he was, what he stood for. I think days like this give us an opportunity to do some introspection, not just as individuals, but as collective, as a society. Nelson Mandela, like Professor said, stood for humanity. He stood for global citizenship. He stood for the rights of the child. He stood for advocating human rights. He stood for conflict resolution. And I think when we reflect on who Nelson Mandela is and how do we make more Nelson Mandelas, it's more than just activities. It's what we do at school. I think us sitting here in this room today is a reflection of that. The choice of the courses that you choose to do. A student decides to do something in post-conflict resolution. It's you being a Mandela. You're thinking about, okay, fine, this is conflict resolution, but how do we move it a step further? How do we develop our continent post-conflict? You're studying something in human rights. You want to be in a human rights council. That is you being a Mandela to say, okay, how do we advocate not just for the children's rights, but for the rights of Africans? So I think what we need to take from this session is looking beyond just 67 minutes. It's more than just us painting. It's us living Nelson Mandela to say, this is the situation we're faced with right now. We're faced with climate change. We're faced with political instability. There's food insecurity. Things that require us to just think, but not only think and reflect on this, because I think that's what we've been doing these past few days. We've been thinking, we've been reflecting, but as to how are we pragmatic about it? How do we implement these things that we talk about? So I think this is what my take home is for Nelson Mandela. I hope this is what we will be deliberating on as well. To say, yes, we did the 67 minutes, and it's good. We really need that 67 minutes every day, not just on the 18th of July, but every day, being kind to the next person, especially now when we're dealing with cases of mental health issues. You know, how you say something to somebody, how you reflect on somebody's day. That's us being and practicing and advocating who Nelson Mandela was. So I hope we'll have great deliberations today, and thank you.
I'm sure you can have a very good dedication today. But before we go into the lecture proper, I would like to call on Mr. Mujib Alabi, the chairman of Education Writers Association of Nigeria. Yes, he was very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have also privileged to have the honor to have a past speaker who already established protocol. So I also, just like I'm also honored to have an existing protocol to stand on. But Prof told us not to stand on the existing protocol so that the protocol will not fall. Well, this time it's not going to fall because we are all here, because Mandela didn't allow the protocol to fall. So we are honored to have you all here. People will ask, why Mandela? And she just explained to us, why Mandela? But have we asked ourselves, why not others? Why are we not here today for Idi Amin? Why are we not here today for the late Sonny Abacha in Nigeria? Why are we not here today for other African leaders who try to perpetuate themselves in power? Why are we not here today for other leaders who are so powerful and they became so powerful they spent years in government? Mandela had the opportunity to perpetuate himself in power. But between 1994 and 1999, what did he do? He said he was going. It was over. He spent only a term. He had the opportunity to continue. Why didn't he continue? Do we still have the spirit of Mandela in more Africans today? What do you have? Go to Sudan. It is crisis over power. Go to Mali. What do you have? We only escaped it in Serbia. It could have happened. So if we are here today, And people will ask, what's the interest of Education Writers Association of Nigeria? Let me begin by saying, my name is Monjid Alabi. I represent that association that is interested in building quality education, in the reform of education, not only on the continent of Africa, but globally. I am here as a servant. They call me chairman. But do I look like chairman? I am Monjid, the chief servant. Education Writers Association of Nigeria, since its creation, has been committed to reporting quality, to reporting affordable, to reporting anything that will encourage reform in our education system. It is because Mandela had the weapon of education. He studied, and he was able to understand that there was a need for South Africa to break free from the years of apartheid. So today, the Education Writers Association of Nigeria that I represent is happy to host African students, African leaders, because whether we like it or not, these are the African leaders. But we want to make more Mandelas. Can we just make more Mandelas by speaking here? No. Can we make more Mandelas only by going to school? No. I was in South Africa in 2017, and I had the honor of visiting the home of Mandela. What did I see? I saw one of the most modest buildings I've ever seen that any African leader ever lived. 2-bedroom apartment, I think. I willingly paid to gain access into the house. And I was impressed that this man had every opportunity to have sold out. He had every opportunity to have, not to have sacrificed himself spending 27 years. He wasn't the only one who spent life in jail. There were many others who actually did. But because of that single spirit in him, spirit of selflessness, spirit of selflessness, spirit of commitment and dedication to humanity, he served. He did not just serve. Like Prof said, we are not remembering Mandela for the wealth he acquired. Are we remembering Mandela for the wealth he accumulated? No. We are not here to remember Mandela for the power he took. But we are remembering Mandela for who he was and who he is. Because to me, Mandela is not dead. And that is why we have to reproduce Mandela. We have to continue to reproduce Mandela. In whatever we do, materialism has taken over the culture of Africa. Power has taken over the culture of Africa. The craze for wealth, craze for fame. You see a lot of Nigerians who are today trying as much as possible to enter the Guinness Book of Records, and they are doing silly things. Silly things. Just because we want to gain fame. Mandela never requested fame. Is he famous or not? He became so famous before he died, and he's still famous till tomorrow. So here we have our message to you, to Africans, is that to achieve any quality, to achieve any development on this continent, we must reform our education. We must make education affordable. We must present quality education. When we empower the younger generation with quality education, we can make more Mandelas. And we welcome you to Nigeria. We welcome you. We welcome the network, Umoja African Network, and we thank you so much for finding us a worthy partner. And we believe that this partnership will not just end here. Whatever activities that will enable us to create more Mandelas, Education Writers Association of Nigeria will continue to be here. Thank you so much.
Now, the team is making more Mandelas. We have in the house Dr. Kayobi Shola, who's going to take on the next 15 minutes on Mandela, reimagining legacies of an icon. I will please give a round of applause to Dr. Kayobi. Good morning, everybody. I will start with one leg on the existing protocol. I will also use the other leg to align the existing protocol. That's what the Yoruba people call shoes. For our South African brothers, it means balancing the situation always. I was there when the South African anthem was read out. I began to wonder the number of languages that were used there. So I was forced to ask somebody to tell me, in what language is that anthem written? And what I got as a response, if I'm not mistaken, is that it's an assorted language. Maybe a bit of Xhosa, a bit of Zulu, and the rest of them. And it reflects something to me. That's the Mandelaism that we're talking about. When you look at the section where you have South Africans, you have black, you have white, you have color, you have all of them. And that was Mandela's vision, a salat vision, a rainbow vision, where everybody will coexist irrespective of color or skin and live together as a nation. So thanks for inviting me. I have a real challenge. Here, a professor spoke before me. A diplomat, Her Excellency, spoke before me. And then a great executive director of education writers also spoke before me. And they have all covered the subject in so much way that I begin to wonder what else I say. But I will just add a few things without parabolating. Yeah, all over the world, there are icons. In Africa, Europe, Asia, we have icons. And icons are so called because of the great contributions that they have made to humanity. And that's why we call them icons. But today, let us put our mind on Africa because it's a matter of Africa. And I think for this audience, there will be no need for me to start telling us who Mandela is, what it is, and why he is so much respected around the world. I don't think that will make us speak at all. We all know it. People here will know the story more than we do. And those of us who are not first-hand experienced people with Mandela, we have read about in paper, classrooms, and all this stuff. So I'm not going to bother you with telling about Mandela. But I will say that Mandela has been widely considered as an icon because of what the world at large has said about him. He has been described as the father of our nation. He has been described as the founding father of democracy. He has been called a modern democratic hero. He has been called one of the 20th century's exemplary anti-racist and anti-colonial leader. He has also been called a totem of the totemic values of our age, toleration and liberal democracy. Again, Mandela has been referred to as a universal symbol of social justice. And I want you to emphasize all these deliberately selected phrases as they are going to form the background of what I'm going to say. Some have even, perhaps rightly so or wrongly, portrayed Mandela as a Messiah, like, say, Jesus Christ or the Christian religion, or Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam of the Islamic religion. Now, when a man has all these attributes by writers across the world, I didn't bother you to tell you the names of those writers who did this. That man is called icon in English. But we're in Africa. And my South African brethren, welcome to Nigeria. We are in Nigeria. And more importantly, in Nigeria, we're in Yoruba land. Icon. An icon is what Yoruba people call Orisha. Can I hear my South African people say Orisha? Orisha. You want to know what that is? The 1999 Constitution that produced Mandela's presidency recognized 2 consecutive 5-year terms. But like one of the speakers said, Mandela did serve 1 term and decided to say, enough, let the other people come and take over. That's not a very common behavior, political behavior across Africa. Also, power is seen in most part of Africa as a means of amassing wealth for protection of self and oppression of opposition. But that wasn't Mandela's philosophy. And that is an unusual behavior. Amongst the Yoruba people of Africa, therefore, Mandela is an Orisha. Orisha means Orisha. The Yoruba's concept of Ori, which literally means the head, but figuratively means your personal God, your personal creator. And so Orisha thus means he who has been specially created by special God. I think that's what I would categorize Mandela as. And among the Yoruba people of Africa, of course many of them are in diaspora. I'm very used to South Africa. I've done several fellowships at the University of Joburg. I'm very, very familiar with Auckland Park, and I was in Unibo, Northwest University, South Africa. So I'm very familiar with them. I know we have a lot of Yoruba people over there who are Africanizing with other people. So in Africa, in Yoruba worldview especially, when people say Orisha, they mean specially created people. And people wish that they were Orisha. They pray to their creator to make them an Orisha. Orisha here, within the context of an icon. That's what it is. There's an old father that says this. So 3 days ago, I was talking about the word of Babalawo, and then Professor Blessing took me up and said, hey, clarification. You need to tell people what Babalawo is. And I'm happy to say that's one of our greatest research works at the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, University of Lagos. We are interested in reconfiguring African studies. And our philosophy is that there is no way you can reconfigure African studies if you are still doing follow. There is wisdom, there is knowledge in African things, and we can tap from them to explain our realities and our scenarios. And one of these knowledge bases is the Ifa indigenous knowledge. And from there, I explain further the idea of Orisha. Ifa says in one of the reviews, say, Agbidin, Enu Agbafu Orisha, ńlá ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀gbọ̀n lọ́jọ́ tó rí lọ lè dá sáyé. And then it goes further to say, ǹjẹ́ orí mi iwájú, orí mi wẹ̀yìn wò, ẹni orí bá ṣàdá là á pè lóríṣà, orí ó dá gbogbo wa síbi rere. That's Mandela. You don't understand Yoruba. I also didn't understand the language used in your national anthem. But what is common to us is that you used African languages and I am using an African language. There is wisdom in all of them and we must continue to put them together. Now, let's look at the business of reimaging the legacies of our dear icon Mandela, the Madiba himself. When I looked at that topic, what struck me immediately is that there's no way you can isolate Mandela as a person and Mandela as a legacy. They are so intertwined, interconnected, that separating them will take cows coming home. And so my approach is going to be bi-pattern, talking about Mandela, both from the person as well as the legacies. Now, my idea of reimaging Mandela is coming from a theoretical perspective. Amongst lecturers, journalists, artists, diplomats, priests, students, and others present here today, how do we reimage Nelson Mandela? How do we make new Mandelas out of all of us? These are two critical questions. They are questions of method. How? How do we reimage Mandela? Put differently, how do we reimagine Mandela? And again, how do we make Mandelas out of all of us? That's the central thing. My good friend David Easton, in 1953, provided us with the idea of a political system. Of course, many of us here know what we call the system theory, which we use to analyze the political environment that we find ourselves in. David Easton's political system is based on legal and formal frameworks. There's something conspicuously missing. And what is missing, in my opinion, is that David Easton did not know that in trying to understand a political system, the informal is much stronger than the formal. In other words, the informal dimension to politics is much stronger than the formal. Perhaps for every decision a president, a senator will take, some form of discussions will have gone on in somebody's sitting room, in somebody's dining table, and of course, with 2 bottles of wine, or mineral water, if you like. So the informal dimension is very important. So I use David Easton's system theory to explore how to make new Mandelas. But I insist that I will use an Africanized theory, which I call the Konko-Jabele theory. Konko-Jabele theory. What does that say? As Mandela engaged apartheid and injustice when he was alive, there were several other people across the world who were doing the same thing, directly or otherwise, and without whose efforts the Mandela we are celebrating today have been. There were several journalists who were Mandelarizing, permitting the use of the word, on the pages of newspaper, as well as stations of radio and television. Mandela has also been depicted in films on multiple occasions. Some of these, such as the 2013 feature film Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, the 2017 Ministries Mandela and the 1996 documentary Mandela are focused on covering his adult life and educating the public about Mandela and what he represents. The anti-apartheid movement was instrumental in initiating academic boycott of South Africa in 1965. If you remember, the declaration was signed by 496 university professors and lecturers from 34 British universities to protest against apartheid and associated violations of academic freedoms. In other words, as journalists were playing their roles, writers were playing their roles, academics, those who were not even African, those who were in British universities, were equally playing their own role of making the Mandela. There were also several sports boycotts, if you remember. In 1964, the Olympic banned South Africa from participating due to perpetration of apartheid in that system. In 1968, the country tried again, but was also resisted. And through 1960, the New Zealand Rugby Football Union kept attacking South Africa and insisted that until apartheid ended, there was not going to be that interaction in terms of sports. So sportsmen were also contributing to the Mandelaization of the man Mandela. In March 1964, you will remember, musician Miriam Makeba also Mandelaized by addressing the United Nations on the need to end apartheid in South Africa. She confronted the leaders of the world head-on by asking them the question, will you act differently? Will you keep quiet, doing nothing if you were in our place? Will you not resist if you were allowed, no right at all in your own country because the color of your skin is different from the color of the skin of your rulers? That was at the level of the United States. So musicians were part of the Mandelaization. Even dressmakers and designers began to display Mandela's image on a proliferation of items, among them photographs, paintings, drawings, tattoo, public murals, button, t-shirts, and all this stuff. You never can tell how this kind of thing unnoticeably created consciousness in people on the making of the Mandela that we're talking today. In the 1980s, several musicians made Mandela the subject of their songs. The special Free Nelson Mandela, Hugh Muscula's Bring Him Back Home, and Johnny Clegg's Asimumananga. Did I get that correct? Asimumananga. We all know the power of popular music in social engineering. Some child seated in a park will listen to that song and right there take a decision that, look, as far as this struggle is concerned, I'm going to be part of it. The social learning theory tells us more about that. And of course, political musician in Nigeria, Fela Anikulapo Kuti, thought deeply and reflected deeply about apartheid and other injustices around the world, and he soliloquized that this thing called United Nations, is that name given to it not an aberration? How can you say there is something like United Nations when nobody, indeed and in truth, is actually united with the other one? Because you can't say you have a United Nation and the people will be perpetrating injustice on other people, and then you'll be looking like Lucozade. Fella then wondered, like Steve Wonder, and ultimately concluded that what we call United Nations is disunited United Nation. This submission is contained in the album Beats of No Nation and Again. Fella was Mandelaized. And far away in Burkina Faso and the Sahel, there was an organization, a university students organization called Inapu Kamita. It's a French expression which means 1 hour for us, 1 hour for Africa. It was there I got to know that the original name of Africa is not Africa, it's Kamita. How strong that is individual, I don't know, but that's the name of that organization. I worked a lot with students on campuses and the political world view. That organization, I witnessed many of their discussions, will stand 1 hour every day till today. As we speak, they are standing. Not just Monday to Friday, Monday, Tuesday, down to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Every day, they give lectures, seminars, propositions on issues of Africa. And as we speak, perhaps they are doing it now. Mandela was the focus of their lectures during that time. All of this put together tells me one thing, that the reimaging of the icon Mandela is that which assures that in whatever you do, focus on being an icon. You are a great and equally important actor in the sustainability of the political system and the global system. You don't have to be a president or a governor, no. But those who are cannot be except with the roles that you have to play. Play your own role. Ensure that in whatever you are doing as a student leader, be a Mandela. As leader of an association, be a Mandela. One of the speakers before me said, why did Mandela not take advantage of his position as president to get mansions and private jets in South Africa? That question, for me, is the $1 million questions that we must take away from this show today. That is the problem of Africa. It's in politics, it's in religion. Pastors build mansions, they buy private jets, build private universities that members of their churches cannot even afford to attend. In the name of God. And nobody is taught. That's the question that there is. That is not Mandela. You can never be an icon that way. I mean, in my university apartment, I have a small garden that I do by myself. Of course, I can afford to get a gardener to do it. But to a gardener, it's going to work. To me, it's passion. So I do it by myself. And then people have confronted me, colleagues, and say, look, this man, this is a university house. And you labor every day to make it well, to dust it. You have a job to do. And I tell them that what you're saying is not in accordance with my philosophy. My philosophy is that I am a stranger in this world. in whatever I do, I'm just acting. I'm not submitting. Even when I have a house that I call my own, I don't live in the house. And because I'm in the University of Lagos, it's unlikely that I will go back to that house until I'm 70. So is that my house? It's not my house. The tenant who lives there owns the house. This one where I am is my house. And I'm going to do it the way it should be done at every point in time. If our leaders in Africa have that philosophy, that this is my country, I don't need to steal money meant for roads, meant for infrastructure, and then buy a house in Dubai, in the US. I am not going to live in that house anyway. But they don't know. Before you say Jack Robinson, they are 75, and even their cops will not go to those houses. They stole public money to buy. Mobutu Sese Seko's palace existing today. The rest is history. I don't know by saying this, gentlemen. Mandelaism is pluralism. Mandela is an Orisha. It's an icon. And in whatever we do differently, our contribution is a form of Mandela that makes the real Mandela. And let us continue on that platform. As students, as writers, as intellectuals, as you can see in the speech that I gave, we must play our role. If, as Mandela was struggling in South Africa, journalists across the world were not writing, musicians were not singing, intellectuals were not going on strike, those who were supposed to protest were not protesting, they would not know that Mandela had backing, and the great man we have made of him would never have come. Thank you very much. I want to believe we are not expecting less from Dr. What appreciates you for that really appreciate. Thanks so much. Thank you. Round of applause. We are going for the panel discussion now. I call on you to come and introduce our panelists and the woman that will call in this session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bella. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you so much. We are listening to a very rich lecture from Professor Ishola, and I'm sure a lot of questions are actually agitating our minds, but because this is actually making more Mandelas, we want to allow the leaders that we have here. They say they are leaders of tomorrow. No, they are leaders of today. Why people want to ask questions to, we have to engage Dr. Ishola. So we appreciate Dr. Ishola joining the panel. We have Professor Peter Mahidi joining the panel. To moderate this session, is a senior editor who works with, the funny thing is that by coincidence, she works with Conversation Africa. Do we know Conversation Africa? Oh, and it's actually South African based, you see. So, Koforola Bello Osage will moderate the session. For those who may not know Koforola Bello Osage, for quite a long time, she was the education editor for the Nation newspaper until recently when she moved to Conversation Africa. Formation Africa is a platform that actually focuses more on research and relate very perfectly with academic institutions on the continent of Africa and globally. So I welcome Professor Olabide Osage to moderate this session to engage our scholars. Some student leaders are going to join us. He's going to invite you to rostrum to join the professor. You may change the arrangement so that it doesn't look that we have professors and they are sandwiched. No. We want a situation whereby the leaders of today will also feel like professors in your
Rainbow arrangement.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Professor Olabide Osage, Content Editor Nigeria for the Conversation Africa. Welcome to Nigeria. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, our panelists. I'll be left to introduce the students, future leaders, and we have from the University of Free State. You're going to pronounce your names. When you come up, I have Kekeletso Maburo, University of Free State. I'm happy she's a woman. Welcome. Then from the University of Lagos, we have Oladipo Simi Lokuma. You're welcome. Then from the from Stellenbosch, we have
Stellenbosch.
Yes, we have Chelsea Majuru. I don't care how much, they're having all men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Prof will see that, so she will see that.
Okay.
Professors have the power to even command professors.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Okay, I'm still going to pass the microphone round so that we get the proper pronunciation of the names. Yes, so starting from my introduction.
My name is Oladipo Simi from the University of Lagos. I'm Chelsea Mujuru from Stellenbosch University.
Well, once again, Kayode Ishuola, University of Lagos. Yeah.
Morning again, everyone. My name is Kekeletso Maburo from the University of the Free State.
My name is Peter McAlevey from the University of Dundee in Scotland.
Okay. You are all welcome. I was not expecting all the student leaders to be women. And now I wish there was a man among them. If it's possible to get one more, I would love that. Okay, but I'm happy to know that this is a very interesting situation because usually you find more men, more males than students here. But this is really, really interesting. So a round of applause.
Because everyone is involved. Everyone is involved.
Okay. To kick this off, I will start with our lecture, our guest lecturer today, Professor
Ishuola. She's a brilliant woman, as you should know.
Okay, so in your lecture, you said something about Mandela. You mentioned his fight against apartheid and how everyone, various groups bought into it and pushed that narrative onto apartheid fell. So in today's world, in today's Africa, there are many rulership regimes in various states in Africa. How can young people, our youth today, live this fight as Mandelas, against such regimes that are holding Africa back?
Well, thank you very much. I think your question is best answered by the theoretical underpinning of my paper. Remember I said, in the knowledge system called EFA, we believe that there are 4 categories of leader in every political setting. Leader as elder, leader as a youngster, leader as a woman, and leader as a man. So within African worldview, there's a huge recommendation that in leadership, the entire 4 must always be involved. You must not ignore the young ones. And the logic is simple. A proverb in Yoruba also says, if you are doing a ritual and you forbid the young ones from participating in it, before you say Jacobism, that ritual has ended because nobody will continue it. So for continuity, for energy, for creativity, for innovation, you cannot afford to jettison the role of the young people. Now, how is your question? Come on, how? How will I shape? I think one of the hows is what we are doing today. Conversation is very important in anything. And you don't know when you reap the benefits. In dialectics, there's something you call transformation from the qualitative to the quantitative. I mean, when you have a building that wants to collapse, the only time you know the building collapses is when the structures fall and you hear boom. But that building must have been collapsing for the past 15 years, and you don't know. The action is just a quantum leap, but there has been transformation from qualitative to quantitative. So what we are doing today, for me, is the number one way, the how, of ensuring that these youngsters occupy positions that they should occupy rather than serving under
That is Kekeletu, right?
Yes.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so as a South African, what Mandela represents to me, I wrote it down as 4 things. It represents forgiveness, reconciliation, empathy, and preservation. And just to briefly touch on that, is that forgiveness, I speak of that for moving forward. And also understanding that the things that have happened in the past, as much as we are the born free, in South Africa, if you're born after 1994, you're considered born free. So as much as you are born free, you need to also accept what had happened in the past, and in order to move forward to that and build a future that the standard nation, the rainbow nation can thrive in. And reconciliation, basically the same thing, but also like, they all kind of speak to the same thing, as in like we need to take all of these different values, like the values, the core values of what Mandela represented, not only necessarily in South Africa, but throughout the whole world. When they look at, they see these things, and then in trying to build the new Mandela, or in looking as to what the values he represents, and what that means in the current state and as an individual, is that we look at these 4 values and trying to think of ways in which we use them to move forward and to create sustainable ways and almost collaboration, but also uplifting and encouraging the youth to fight for a better future.
Thank you very much. You made an important point. Without forgiveness and reconciliation, no one can move forward, and that was something that Mandela espoused. If not after 27 years in prison, how was he going to get on with his life? Or he did, and he did so successfully. Now to Chelsea, right?
Yes, Chelsea. There's a huge encouragement for us to be global citizens, which I love, and I'm a huge proponent of it. However, there mustn't be confusion of what global citizenship and Eurocentrism fact I didn't receive enough of, right? Because we studied Cambridge, which is a English curriculum, which means we were focusing predominantly on what the West deems as good, right? A lot of our culture is lost through this, and the motion today is like preservation of culture. And so Mandelaization for me looks like getting into the system, the education system, and ridding it of Eurocentric notions that continue to make children think that white is better, West is better. Even when it comes to university applications, a lot of African children are encouraged, go outside of the country. And one of the hugest things that we struggle with is brain drain. And that's something that we really, really need to get to the bottom of. If it's an issue of quality education, then it means that there needs to be quality education in African countries. If it's an issue of employment, that means that there needs to be employment in African countries. But this issue of encouraging brain drain is where most of our problem lies, right? And then you asked, how can we have an impact? In Zimbabwe, 2/3 of the people, the population, are youths, right? And we think that these numbers should be used to our benefit. Because we are the majority, there's so much gunning that can be done. Youth involvement in governance is so important. And once the youth realize that they are the larger majority, they are experts in their field. We love our professors, we love our lecturers, but who is living the real reality of what unemployment looks like, of what poverty looks like, of what gender inequality looks like? It's the youth themselves. So we want to see them take up these spaces in government, right? The third thing is that it's very important that Mandelaization doesn't just happen in faculties such as law and human rights, etc., right? We want to see African people at the forefront of medical boards, right? We think it's so important for Mandelaization to happen across sectors, right? Yesterday I really enjoyed seeing a woman, a black woman for that fact, talking about sustainable development. There are not enough Africans at the forefront of these worldwide conversations that affect us the most, right? So So I think when we're able to make sure that there's someone standing and speaking for Africans in every single sector, right, we're able to actually Mandelarize this system that doesn't work for us, right? We get in there and we fix it ourselves rather than watching from the sidelines. Thank you.
It's going so well. I have to stop. Very, very well. Thank you so much. Now for Simi.
Okay, for me, Nelson Mandela is a symbol of resilience and strength. I said that because I kept wondering how he spent 27 years in prison and that did not break him. It makes us understand that, leadership starts where toleration ends. So the moment you realize that you can no longer tolerate some things, you can get the strength to be a leader and make a change. And that's where, you understand that change starts from the mind. A lot of people are scared. There's the issue of fear. Oh, I don't think I can stand up for the right cause. I don't think I can make a change. I don't think I can do the same thing Nelson Mandela did. I don't think I have the platform. But the truth is, no matter the position you are in, no matter where you are in, the place where you are, you can definitely make a change. And, change can start from wherever you are. I remember wanting to be a student leader because I wanted to ensure that some things were done. And I didn't want to leave it to other people to do it. So I decided to take it upon myself to do it. And it was not so convenient, but I was so impressed that I could take up that opportunity and do the things I was supposed to do. Another thing we can learn from Nelson Mandela is, he was so keen on promoting unity, and I think that is what we are doing here right now with the Umoja conference. I think this is a very good place to start because he understood the need for collaboration. We saw that people from places like Angola, Zambia, Tanzania, they collaborated with Nelson Mandela. He understood that we are Africans, we need each other to make a change in this generation. So I'll wrap up with this, a line from the national anthem that says, "The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain." We should reflect, we should think about this. Everything that Nelson Mandela has done is not enough for us to keep talking about it. It's enough we need to take lessons from it and carry it on to ensure that what he did does not end with our generation. It goes on and on. We pass it on, and we do that by educating people, like she said, about the importance of good leadership. I remember that Professor Isuola was talking about how we are not remembering Nelson Mandela for selfish things that he did. He was so selfless. We should learn to take that into leadership. And when we take selflessness into leadership, we can achieve great results and make Africa great again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can all agree that these women leaders have more than done it. They've done very well. They've not disappointed us. I'll give an opportunity to one of a male students to say something about what Mandela represents and how to carry that forward. So when somebody is ready to take that challenge, please let me see the person and I will allow you. But in the meantime, I'll go to Professor Mary. This is a time where Africa is seeking to break free from all that holds this powerful continent down, and so is a continent that attracts interest from the outside world. And as a professor of family law from the University of Delhi, I can have collaborations with African universities. And as someone who know the kind of values that Mandela espoused, what would be what's your advice to African institutions to get the fire, light the fire in these young people and get them moving?
Great, thanks very much. I do feel a little bit of the imposter here. I'm not a scholar of Mandela, I'm not from Africa, but I'm so delighted to have the chance to join you and to participate in this fantastic discussion, a fantastic week of celebrations for Nelson Mandela. If you permit me, just let me say a few words about my experiences of the spirit of Mandela. So I'm a professor in Dundee, it's in Scotland, but I'm not Scottish, so I don't wear a kilt. This is the only sort of traditional dress that I wear when I come to Nigeria. I'm from Ireland, and I come from that part of Ireland that has experienced conflict for many, many centuries. I come from Northern Ireland. So I grew up there in the 1970s and 1980s. It was a time when many, many people, thousands of people died. And for such a small country, that had a huge effect. And it was during this time that I began to look at what was happening in South Africa. And I followed the life of Mandela. And the impact that Mandela had on my country has been profound, because during the 1980s, there were some attempts to try and find peace, to try to end the conflict. He never succeeded. Even during the beginning of the 90s, it didn't succeed. But learning from the experience of what happened in South Africa with such huge division, where South Africa showed the way, and we learned from that, not just from the experience, but in a practical way, that Mandela and the South African government, they brought over leaders from Northern Ireland. They brought them together to help them try and learn from how South Africa overcame their challenges, and really helped show the way that ultimately led in 1998 to the Good Friday Agreement, which was the foundation for peace in my country. It's not perfect, there's still problems, but Chelsea, you mentioned that it should not just be about Africa looking to Europe, or Europe trying to look to Africa. What happened in my small country is a key example of where we couldn't find the way, and we learned from you. You brought the peace that is the foundation of a much more prosperous, happy, vibrant society today in Northern Ireland. As I say, not perfect, but it is so much better today than it was when I was growing up there in the 1980s. So that is the key way in which I have learned and followed the spirit of Mandela. This idea of we've heard from all of the speakers, of communication, of engagement, of learning from each other, about trying to trust. And the expression that has been so important in my country has been parity of esteem. It's not about we're all going to be friends and completely resolve all of our differences. There will be differences. It's about recognizing those differences and not treating those differences as a problem, as a threat. To try and live together and respect our different cultures, our different approaches, and to live together and cooperate effectively as a community in the interest of all of our people. So in terms of at a university level, how we can live this experience, how we can live the spirit of Mandela to promote trust, to promote collaboration, to promote parity of esteem between where differences exist, and to work together in an effective way. I think that at an international level for universities, an external level for universities, it is what can they do to bring our students together. And I know that many steps, and this is such a fantastic example, the Abuja process this week, but we need to do more, all of our universities, so it can happen through, at a practical level, through promoting more study exchanges. That's a great way to promote trust, to learn about each other's cultures and each other's approaches to education, to society. And Chelsea, you mentioned the concern about brain drain, and I think one of the most effective ways going forward to try and avoid that huge issue is through having more joint programs where students study not just at their home institution, whether it's in the UK or Europe, the West or Africa, but spend time at both institutions who've partnered together, who've got similar values, who want to trust each other's approach to education in the spirit of Mandela. And then the student is able to benefit from potentially having a degree from both institutions. So that ultimately for me is the best way, or one of the best ways to really live the spirit of Nelson Mandela in promoting trust, in promoting respect, in learning from each other, in giving effect to the principle of the power of self-esteem. We do have differences, but we respect our differences and we work together to achieve effective outcomes.
Thank you very much. The final question that I'm going to put directly to the students. The Umoja Africa Students Leaders Network provides you a platform. How are you going to use this platform to reach more students? This is where you are Gen Zs and you think differently. And we are not going to prescribe to you how you should achieve what you want to achieve. And Gen Zs, what I can say about them is that they are not ready to do things normal, the way we know it, the usual way. So what's your way forward to catch more Gen Zs and get them interested in the African project? That's becoming, if we have 1,000 Mandelas, you can imagine what Africa will achieve. So just 1 minute, starting from this. Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be an easy task, and I'm not going to say something that is also attainable very quickly. It's going to be a process that takes a lot of time. But I really think the spaces in which we operate in also offer us a huge advantage because, for example, on our campus we have about like 40,000 students who also now have reach outside. So I think what we need to do or what we can do as student leaders who have been beneficiaries of a project like this is to go back to our institutions and start the conversation. So we know how our institutions work, we know where our advantages are in pulling the youth and getting them interested. In my instance, it would be through residences, through hosting maybe workshops and so forth, but not neglecting also social media. I think there was a study from Forbes that said roughly around 7 or 6 billion youth from the age of 12 onwards use about 2 hours of social media a day, which is not really true because I feel like we use more. But yes, making use of social media and technology, which is basically the theme of this whole entire project. That's how we can encourage the youth to participate and start the conversation of Africanism, or rather the African conversation in solving the African problems or in solving the problems that we're faced with in the community. And just coming together and we're trying to find creative ways to deal with the solutions that we're facing. But a lot of times we also find that people, or rather the youth, are not necessarily interested in the problem. So we actually have to engage and have conversations and find out actually the amount or the extent or the amount of knowledge that they have regarding the issues that are affecting us, and they're not looking at it on a similar basis. Because I was having a conversation with my colleague earlier, and I asked him, to what extent do you think that us as university students are actually playing a role in changing the situation of our country? If you know the history of South Africa, we've had 2 major instances where students actually were at the forefront of changing the status quo in South Africa, which is the 1976 uprising in Soweto, where the students protested against using Afrikaans as a medium of learning. We had Fees Must Fall, where the students of the university protest against the fees that they were being charged, and that particular point, there wasn't any black, white, Indian, or whatever. Students had a common voice and said, this is the issue that we're facing, this is how we're going to deal with it. And it's not necessarily something that affected just students. It's our parents who pay for our school. It's our parents who are the taxpayers that subsidize the money that the government that pays for the subsidies that the government gives the universities. So we have a very long way to go in terms of getting that drive and that spirit and that spirit of and passion of activism. And that's something that we need to spark again with our youth, starting from basic education. Because I believe personally that if you want to drive something far, you start with youth at a very young age, which is basic education, and then by the time they go to higher education and they acquire the knowledge from their respective fields, they can go way further in driving the issue.
That's just briefly.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and Chelsea, please add that this is a very serious issue, and young people are very interested in entertainment. So, how do you think you can focus young people, to take this seriously?
I think it's good to incentivize the youth and not look at them as like a last resort, because a lot of the time they would have been like deliberation with policies long before, and then when it comes to the youth, it's more of, oh, we've tried everything, guys, let's hear what you have to say. Whereas I think they should be like easily put into the system where they are part of the conversation when policies are being made. In that way, you incentivize youth by making them feel like our voices are actually being heard and there's some form of change that we can actually see. A great example is like Zimbabwe. We have the Junior Council of Harare and different cities, but I'm from Harare, so I was in the Junior Council of Harare. We actually got to work with the ministers and parliament members. So whenever they wanted to vote something that directly affected the youth, we would be there right at the forefront. We wouldn't wait until it has now affected us. Like we voted on huge issues like period poverty, etc. at the age of 18. And by the ministers listening and taking time, my voice felt so powerful. And from that point onwards, you can only imagine how much more impact you can have as you continue to grow, because you feel like these world leaders actually care about what you're trying to say. So yeah.
Thank you, and very important points about youth being involved in policy right from time. For Smith, I want you to address this question from the point of young people being, especially in Nigeria, young people are caught in the hands of politicians, older people that don't want to ever leave office. Are pawns, they are used as tools, and that also has to do with poverty, not enough resources. So these big people throw money at them. So how can this Umoja Africa Network help young people to see beyond the limitations of finance, and look beyond that to take their place?
Alright, so I noticed that when they want to use youth as pawn, they don't necessarily come to the educated youth, they go to the grassroots. So what we need to do is grassroots mobilization, go there, get them educated. We don't have to wait for the government to empower these people and ensure that they get skills to be able to make money for themselves. So that this is not a problem, this is not a challenge. I'm not saying, oh, I have to depend on this person for money, and because he said I should go and vandalize things, or because he said I should go and destroy things, I have to do it because I'm depending on him for money. So there's an issue of lack of education and lack of access to jobs and opportunities for them in slum areas, communities where people are not educated. I think we can play a role in ensuring that these people get educated. We help with that and not wait for the government to be involved.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. This is very important. Young people reaching out to other young people that are not necessarily in the school system, but are powerful tools in the hands of these politicians. Can go a long way to address the problem. So now to the audience, I asked before if there's any student, a male, yeah, you want to talk about, yes, what Mandela means to you and how.
Thank you so much. To me, my name is Oladeji Emmanuel, popularly known as Slim Out in the University of Lagos. I'm a student in the President Faculty of Education, the largest faculty in the University of Lagos.
Please slow down and give us your
Yes, there are a lot of things I want to say, and I don't want to take our time. So, like I said again, for those that didn't hear me, my name is Oladeji Emmanuel Oladeji. popularly known as England. Yeah. So, you know what I said, and I love this discussion we have this morning. To me, Mandela as a leader, a pragmatic person, symbol of resilience, another symbol of Sorosuke. Yeah. So, but
Can you explain Sorosuke?
no, for those that don't understand, speak up. Speak up, stand for what you believe, stand for your rights. That's right, guys. Okay. Thank you. So, we've been saying some things since day one. African leaders summit, and some of the questions directed towards discussant today also focus on some of the things we've spoken about before. Yes, we understand where we are coming from, we understand history, but in as much as Professor Isuola have said this morning that we need to acknowledge cultural relativity and understand different cultures and know their peculiarities. Yeah, we need to look inward also, because after a summit like this, we all go back, and nothing is being done. Even people seated here, there's little or nothing when we leave those places. When we go for conferences, implementation is the problem. And that's where the youth comes in. That's where the student leaders comes in. Someone spoke about, professors spoke about more adi for some students in an African country, and they take time to teach themselves their history, their culture, amongst other things, sensitizing themselves. There's a position. There's a legitimate platform to do that. You understand? So that's one. We need that. I won't say much on that, but we need that. But also, we need our history to know where we are and also to know where we are going, right? Some of our leaders are not pronounced the right way. When you plant tomatoes and it's growing, you have to stake it, you have to do whatever, such that they don't grow out of hand. Yes, like you said, we are playing as students, and the energy that the youth have needs to be channeled in the right direction. They don't just use people who are not educated. Poverty is a tool that can affect anybody. And as long as we are going to feed your mouth, you need to, sometimes you tend to say yes or compromise with some things that you don't believe in. So where do we start changing those things one by each? It is not even for the people, it's not just for the government, it's not just for it gets to our churches, to our religious group, to the management of schools, to your company where you work. There's a way. They are afraid of something because if you have the liberty and if you have the right state of mind to check, there are some of their own SSC that you might want to call. And some of this one are waiting to put them in place. So we should be talking about steps and items that we need to implement such that we can go, implement, come back, give report, let's know where we are. Because as we are here right now, it's my end here again to the next Umoja conference. And we just come together, we love this setting, but it is not, this is not the replica of what we get on the wider term. Talking about 10,000 students, 40,000 students, 10 African countries, 15 African countries, to the 51 African countries. So that's what we are saying, not just hundreds of tens.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. This is very important because all the lessons here must not remain in this room, and there must be implementation. And now we have, the floor is open for questions. If there are any questions, our guest lecturer is there.
Questions, comments?
Sorry, questions and comments, please. We'll take, please, you have just 1 to 2 minutes to ask a question and make a comment, and I will take, comments, yes, we'll take 3. I have 2 minutes. After Prof, lady classes. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have much time. I think I should share my Mandela discourse. My first encounter with Mandela was as an undergraduate of the University of Lagos. We watched this film about Mandela, and I think everyone in that film left teary-eyed because we were able to experience what he was actually going through. And then when he was released in 1990, I was an undergraduate student at the University of Lagos. I was one of those that saw him live. Because he came to the University of Lagos and gave a lecture at the University of Lagos. And I think I got some inspiration from that. And my part, when I left the university, I just went into the human rights movement. And the sort of experience that we got from his life actually kept us going. I think one thing we can learn from Mandela is the spirit of get going. And that came alive when we had this military government in Nigeria. I think somebody mentioned it that time when Abacha. And I was in the human rights movement. So we are those that actually fought for the democratic experience that we are enjoying in Nigeria today. And I want our young people to learn from this. See, anytime we have problems in Nigeria, we always look out for help. Oh, the US should come and do this for us, the UK should come and do this for us. So that time, we also had that belief. So we went to the UN, UN Human Rights Commission in Switzerland, and we thought that with the sort of support that we got from the US, from EU, at least they're going to support us. That time, we were asking for an embargo to be placed on Nigerian oil because we thought that with that, if they can boycott us, one day we're going to get the government to listen to us. To our surprise, we went to EU, went to all this, and they said no, they cannot do that because of their own economic interest. And it was only the South African delegation, because the president that time was Nelson Mandela, that supported us. Supported us to have a very strong resolution against the country. And I was lucky to also visit Najid, where Nelson Mandela lived in Soweto. It was actually a sobering moment. You need to go there. You need to explain the sort of life that he lived. And I think that is the lesson for us young people. Most of the time we are looking for the benefits, what comes. But to see that you cannot enjoy it without sacrifice. The Nigeria that you have today, the democracy that you have today, some people suffer for it. Some people die for it. Some people have to relocate from Nigeria because of it. Some of us, because of the information we got from Mandela, even myself, I was detained by the military government. How many of us can actually face the bullet? I face bullets. But those are things that you can take from Mandela. He suffered a lot, and that is why we are talking about it and we are enjoying what we enjoy today. I thought I should share that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next was our lady in glasses. Sorry, your name, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Miriam Beton. I am the editor-in-chief of the student newspaper at Stellenbosch University. This is something I see a lot in South Africa. The reality is that we have all these discussions, but the problems are very real. Unemployment is very real. I think right now it's 46% in South Africa. And there is a general apathy amongst the youth. People do not believe that things can change. And we have an election coming up, and I've been seeing things popping up. I'm even thinking of doing a campaign about election education and legitimacy, voting legitimacy. But the problem is ultimately apathy. And I specifically want to ask the young people on the panel, how would you suggest we tackle this? How do we combat apathy? Thank you.
So how do we combat apathy? Yeah, okay, should we ask all the questions? You have a question. Just a comment. Who has a question? Just one more question. Just a comment. Comment, okay. I mean, we have 5 already. Let's respond to the question before the comments come.
I think your question is for the young people.
Yes.
Not for people who have this.
I think there's a lot of what do they call it, what's the actual word? Fatigue, activism fatigue, especially because a lot of the activism and advocacy falls on the youth, right? Because so many people are like, it's your country at the end of the day. But I think when you yourself, like as the chief editor, think that this is a huge problem and people need to be educated about voting, it is only so much, especially as like activists and student leaders, you have to learn that there is only so much you can do, right? And so when you make use of what you can do, you've already done like 99%, you get what I mean? So when you're thinking of your idea of, I want to do a campaign of like voting, because a lot of people who are now just become of age for voting don't know a lot about voting. The impact that you're going to have, it might be 3 people. Maybe Chelsea will learn, okay, so when I vote, this is the process, etc. You've already made a impact, you know what I mean? And so I think as student leaders and activists, being able to even just pat yourself on the shoulder and say, I've made the effort with the tools I have is very, very important to be able to avoid getting to that stage of like activism lethargy.
Thank you. Small wins. If you celebrate, you want to talk about
yeah, so regarding your question, I think it's something that I spoke on, is that a lot of the time the youth don't necessarily understand the impact of them not engaging in the socio-economic issues of this, whatever country they're in. And your question or your frustration is actually something that's been voiced a lot on social media. And I think we are almost heading into a positive light because a lot of people are talking about it. I was extremely frustrated. I think it was, when was the last election? 2019. Yes, 2019, where I was speaking to my friends about voting, and then people were like, oh no, I don't know. No, I'll ask my parents. I'll see what they're doing. But no one's engaging with the different manifestos of the different political parties. No one's actively engaging with the political material. We need to also take responsibility as the youth to actually be active, active citizens in our country. You can't, as an 18-year-old heading into an institution of higher learning and education where you're about to start your journey as an intellectual or an expert or whatever professional, not want to engage in things that will affect you in future. One thing that I really actually want to stress is that to a certain extent that we need to start taking responsibility. I actually do share the same frustration as you as in voter education and so forth. And sometimes we take on tasks that we maybe don't want to, or things that we don't necessarily understand why our fellow youth are not engaging in the same things. But my main point is also taking responsibility for our own future as the youth. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think a solution is something you mentioned about doing a campaign, encouraging others to do that. Because I saw how that changed a lot during this election in Nigeria. The last election we had in Nigeria, a lot of young people were involved in the election. There was a lot of activism, a lot of campaigning, a lot of publicity. You know, they went to the grassroots, went to different places, educated people in schools, universities, on social media. It was a lot. And we had people voting in the rain, people voting even till night, because they saw that, some things that they did, there were a lot of misconceptions about voting that were clear. Because some people took it upon themselves to educate others. So, yeah. So what you said about creating a campaign and educating others is very, very important. You might not see the exact change you want now, but it's a good place to start.
Yes. So now to we have so many people trying to go now. We cannot take everyone. So I'm going to give priority to the first 3 people that noticed that raise their hands. Then when they are done, they will decide whether we want to go for lunch or we want to take another one. So please, sorry, your name, I don't know your name. You need to sit down.
All protocol duly observed. My name is Femi Fatukasi, and I'm a student leader in the University of Lagos. I love public governance with an eye for activism and comradeship. So we were talking about Umoja African Student Leaders Network, and the question was thrown at the fellow student leader, Simi. You were being asked about the fact that what do Gen Zs, although I'm not Gen Z though, that, okay, it was not you. Yeah, that Gen Z, what do they have to do about, what would they, or how will you guys go back, or how will we go back to sensitize our fellow people? One thing I actually want to bring out of this thing is that it's really not about student leaders. That's one thing I want to say. And I want to actually say this. Dr. Kayode Ishola is one of the persons that I've seen in activism. Someone like Mandela that I've seen in real life is there sitting. He might not know me, but I know him. You understand? So these are the things that we as youth, as a younger generation, we tend to see. Real life activism. When we're in a summit like this, we hear you speak, we see you go out there and act what you are telling us here. More often, the elderly ones, they don't want to give chance to even the younger generations. So how do we come? How do we come out there and actually flaunt our prowess in public governance, in the social strata of the government? So I still feel that as a student leader in your schools, you have management. There's no how you want to do, there's no how you want to sensitize, there's no how you want to do things. If the management of the university didn't give you a chance, I think it won't be fruitful. So I just want to I also, okay, I think that's not.
Management is here. Management is listening. So, management, please give the students a chance. And students, please listen and use the chance responsibly. So, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, as I said earlier, my name is Plobuhle Tabaka. And those that don't know already, I'm the SG of Stellenbosch University. I just want to add, as we can speak of Nelson Mandela, I think many of us in South Africa grew up idolizing him until some of us entered the political space and we learned the other side of Nelson. But we won't go into that right now. But one thing that I took away from him, and I think each and every single country in Africa needs to take as well, is the sense that when he said, when the ANC government does to you what the apartheid government does, do as you did to the apartheid government to them. So I wish that Africa get rid of this disease just because they gave us political freedom. Now we owe them our lives. I don't think it's only in South Africa that it's like that. I think it's not majority of Africa. Just because they gave us that one thing, now they want to tangle with us. Now I have no political loyalty. As the youth in South Africa, if you don't do right by me, I will jump. I do not have. Unless that you are genuinely working for the people. That is all I wish for in Africa. And I think as the youth as well, within the African continent, I don't know if we're waiting for a Mandela or someone to lead us into this struggle, because I feel like we're not angry enough. Majority, all of our countries actually, we're living in utter poverty. How are we allowing this? In our higher learning institutions, well, in South Africa, I'm not sure how it operates here. You can differentiate between, okay, this is a poor university, this was, okay, the previous white university, there's some money there. And then it divides us even further, because then you get the better bags, then you get, those that, I know it's fine, then you get the ones that are always purchasing. I think more than anything, we also have a problem of being unified. We are not unified. We think the others are better than the others, and So if anything that we can leave with here today is those words of Nelson Mandela. Don't give them your political loyalty. Don't do it at all and stop being so calm. If it must be now that we must be arrogant and we must be violent, there's always casualties in a revolution. And I think it's time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we're fairly here this morning, Sunday Davidson. I work with the youth in this university, and I'm very passionate about your affairs. And I specifically work on unemployment. So I have a job in Africa to bring all the youth in Africa into the employed, a very big one. So, a very good one. When I was 35 years ago, when I came to my school, I remember very vividly, we were on the assembly, in Nigeria, in secondary school, you all queue in the morning, you pray, people speak to you, they tell you things, you hear. And when they came as a team, led by someone who a non-Nigerian and a Nigerian, talking about Mandela. And they spoke to us, the need for us to contribute money. Yes, from our pocket money to free Mandela. So, the first question we're asking, who is Mandela? So somebody we were taught to be bold in my secondary school. Somebody said, who is Mandela? We were told who he is. I was incarcerated, and he's still in prison. There is an emancipation to free him, and we need funds, and they're not going to get funds from government, but they want individual. And they told us that we are the Mandela of tomorrow to free our own nations. Right there on the assembly, we started bringing out coins, we were contributing, and each of the class rep, they used to write the name of noisemakers, were brought out to further collect the money and to hand it over. So that thing sat with us. We kept on asking in the class, this Mandela, do you want to go to play? They said, no, Mandela is fighting for freedom. So that was what led us, our own generation, for us to be able to fight during the period of Abacha. Because we were remembering that if Mandela could be free, and if South Africa stood for Mandela, would start for Nigeria. And our generation did. I remember in my university, we were named the Nadepo University. We refused to go for the 2 million march of Mandela. I was equally in the forefront. Now my question, you the youth now, are you actually in the forefront? Can you be counted on? Do you even understand the challenges, the good challenges that is, staring at you in the face? Because we are almost getting off, from the stage. But unfortunately, we're further divided. So the youth, you are not as united as we used to be then. And again, this has given a lot of distraction. I think while we were because there was nothing for us that time than to come to congresses, to come to meet people like the people that used to speak to us that time. I remember when Tio Adebowale, you may know him, very, very versatile. When Tio mounts the podium, whatever he tells us to do, we go and do it. He was the one that trained Mimico people. You know them in your discipline. So now the youth, it's your time to look at what is happening in Nigeria, in South Africa, just like Dr. Eshola said. You see the leaders. They gather you people, especially in our nation in Nigeria, when they're about to vote, they gather many of them, not only the uneducated youth, even the so-called nuns. If you're one of them, even the so-called nuns. What happens? I saw them on television recently. I asked myself, is it the student unionism we used to do?
They are APC members.
So, you see, so these are the things that are very important for us, the youth, because the population of Africa, which is about 1.4 billion to 1.6 billion, 65 to 69% of it is between the age of 15 and 35. So in the next 10 years, the job that we needed in Africa will triple. Now the people that are seated there are not creating the jobs. You need to either make them to secure the resources that can make you to begin to create the job yourself now. And you need to be very active. So I now understand the merger they were. I mean, better because I remember when they came to my school, so I was now connecting it. So this togetherness is what gave birth to this. Can you come together now? As you're leaving this, the University of Lagos, University of which, University of Freetown, can you have a very massive network in Africa where you continuously have your voice? When Nigeria government is doing wrong thing, you're saying it on the mondial network, you say, hey, Nigeria stop it, because we don't want you to take Africa down. And when South Africa is doing it, you say, hey, South Africa stop it. And you can imagine you have a platform of about 1 million students talking about this every day. I tell you, you will change all of us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Today is a wild day, really, talking about what Mandela means to us. I want to start, like a continuity from Prof, and then I want to say that the question is, youth, what exactly do you consider as value? What's the value for us now? Is it money? Is it power? What exactly is the interest of the youth? I've been in youth leadership and I see that the struggle most of the time is based on what I can get from my pocket. Most of the time it is, how do I become a leader? I want to be powerful. Is that what Mandela taught us? Because it's all about self right now. I also want to bring to our knowledge that struggle is a continuous thing. In our midst, Mandela has brought to our knowledge that oppression will always be. And oppression is based on what you understand as it. In what way are you oppressed? What is the circumstance that is oppressing you? Are you oppressed socially? Because sometimes you're oppressed based on what you value. So you're oppressed because somebody has a technological instrument that is most expensive or more expensive than yours, then you're oppressed in that area. Is that the oppression we're looking at? Because I see every day that our youth seem to be losing exactly the focus. We are no longer looking at being selfless. We are no longer looking at helping the voiceless. We want to be the voice, and the voice alone. And that's the problem of the youth now. Now, when we have that problem, how do we become the future? Because we already have that problem. We, that are no longer the youths, are struggling with that problem. But we're looking at the youths that should be tomorrow's leader, already wearing the cloth, already growing in it, and then we're afraid of the future. We're afraid that these youths that should help us out may even be worse. So we don't even want to open the door because we're afraid that that door is already broken. So I ask again, youth sitting here, what is your value? What exactly has brought you together? I saw you dancing the other day we were painting. We seem to have a togetherness based on entertainment. Will entertainment hold us together? Is entertainment what we saw from Mandela? He danced, yes, but that was not what he was preaching. It was an avenue. Now, in the suppression and oppression that we have, politically, socially, culturally, are we able to see the partners to hold on to?
to give us the skill gap? Have we identified it in Africa? Youths, do we know where to go? We're struggling to be educated in one way or the other. When we come out, where do we walk? We don't even know. There are no jobs. Are you ready to stand as a youth and make sure that you become that entity that will give other people job and then remove the oppression of no job? Or you're working very hard so that you leave Africa to where you get a job outside, and then what happens to us?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. This is your question and comment. Okay, that's the last person we'll take and we'll wrap up. I'll sign it off. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nurse Pio. I think my response speaks to the state of confusion that we find ourselves in just based on the comments that I've heard. Firstly, as the youth, we find ourselves in political, economic, and social circumstances where we don't have agency. The people that in power do not represent us, not only in age, but of politics, but also our understanding of social political context. We don't live in a time where the biggest struggle is racism, where there's a multiplicity of issues that we're dealing with. We're dealing with mental health issues, we're dealing with academic stresses, we're dealing with food insecurity at educational institutions where people are supposed to get an education and have access. How is someone supposed to sit in a classroom and concentrate and be a leader one day when they haven't had food, when they don't have a place to stay? It seems that you're disconnected from the things that we're dealing with currently as the youth. Suicide rates amongst the youth in Africa are dire because we're dealing with a multiplicity, intersectional issues. Intersectionality means that I stand here as a black woman, but I'm more than that. I have other identifications in the world that prohibit me from moving the way that I would like to move and being who I would like to be. And those add on to the stresses that I have in the world. But also, I'm like most South African youth and most Nigerian youth, I presume, we have done our duties and we've given of ourselves, not only in Fees Must Fall and other protests like gender-based violence, and I'm sure you've also given of yourselves in times of injustice. We have given of ourselves. What happens when we give of ourselves and then the very structures that are supposed to protect us are the ones who criminalize us and gaslight us?
Questions and very important issues, and what she just said reminds me of the answer. Yes. So yeah, very important. Unfortunately, we can't take any more contributions. But this has left us with so many things to think about. You know, so many things to think about. Yes, we are all talking about youth issues, but we know that the opposition is huge. You know, against this thing, but I will plead with the level seniors here to please give the young people here all the support they need. All our institutions and representatives. Our time is up. You know, our time is up. I'm sorry. Our time is up.
Thank you very much, everyone. Mine is in charge. When we say moja, togetherness, in the spirit of Mandela, I want to charge the youth that maybe the next gathering should be to solve problems. What do I mean? Just we can look out for what problem is youth in Nigeria facing or South Africa are facing. Then let all the youth in all of Africa come together and work. It will be true hybrid. That is, stay wherever you want to stay, Nigeria stay in their country, then provide solution. That's my hope. Then we can continue to replicate that across Africa.
Thank you very much. This has been a very, very progressive program. And to wrap up, as much as these challenges, as she said, to solve problems, one thing I learned from NSAS was that when young people come together and make up their mind to solve problems, they can. Because what they achieved with NSAS was mind-blowing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Before we allow them to go, we do not have anything, but this is a huge honor. The contributions here today have been very fantastic, and we know very well we are going to take this forward. So before you go, before you leave the podium, we appreciate that we'll be calling one. We have just symbol just to show appreciation that we call you. You came, and we'll start with the professor of family law because we don't want our family. So you can just tell there. We'll call Mr. Oyemi. Can they present to Mr. McLean just a token of appreciation for coming here? Thank you so much. Mr. Oyemi is an editor with Independent Newspaper and a member of EWAN. Thank you so much. Photo ops. Thank you. Thank you. My two right? Okay. Okay. Sorry, let me have Mrs. Chola Taiwo. Please, can you come and present that? Thank you so much. Please, join me. Please. Just 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Thank you so much. It's just a token of appreciation. Nothing there, but that's a symbol. Thank you very much. So, thank you. So you can actually consider Mr. Tukoso Mudare, you present to Mr. Dr. Suola, who has fed us with a rich menu this morning. Thank you so much. Okay, from morning till afternoon, we did that. Thank you so much. Elizabeth Wandu, we prepare to come and present to Chelsea. I hope you are a Chelsea fan. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Fumi Oludare, please come forward. Present to our sister, Simisola. 10 seconds, please. 10 seconds. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Just please. Okay, because of the photo, please. 10 seconds, please. We're in a hurry. We have Professor Ibrahim is coming to make other announcements here shortly. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. We have who are we not taking care of? Okay. The moderator is the one dashing them out. So definitely, representative of the Vice Chancellor, please. The DSA is not here. So, Prof, is the host, is the representative of the Vice Chancellor, please, come over. Madam, okay. Madam Chinyere Wachuku is from News Agency of Nigeria. Kindly come and present to Professor Ibrahim. News Agency of Nigeria. Thank you so much. Yes, this is a token of appreciation to the Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much. Yeah, so the masquerade, we are honored here to have the presence of the presidency of South Africa in our midst because wherever you find her, definitely she represents South Africa. So we call you to please come out. So because of that, two of us are going to do that assignment. Mr. Abiola is my head of the MITV. Can they come forward? Yes, you represent South Africa. So this is the president of President Ramaphosa. So we are so glad to have you. Thank you so much. Just symbolic. Don't go back to okay. So, Professor Ibrahim, you can
can just follow up with the latest announcement.
Thank you.
Then you have to do it.
Members of the panel, please can go to your seats. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think we can give them another round of applause, please. Okay, for some of us, we registered for a virtual event. Please don't go yet. For a virtual event, that's a parliamentary conference. The session started at 12 o'clock, so please let us join in while the session is on. Sorry. We are not leaving, we are still having the program. Everyone members of the program. Okay, conversation, that's all. The photo session is. Please don't go yet, please don't go yet. Okay, we are going to have a short break. Break, after which we are going to have a presentation from the Tony Heritage Foundation. But before we go for the short break, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, let me express the appreciation of the University of Lagos, the Vice Chancellor, the management, to all the participants at this program, our friends, partners from South Africa, those who join online, and those who join physically, that's from Stellenbosch University as well as from the University of Free State. Also, we would like to really appreciate the support of the South African Consulate in Lagos, in with us, right from the first week before the program come to the moment. Also, we have some very important partners. We need to appreciate them. We want to register our appreciation to the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies that hosted the event that we had yesterday. Then our partners, Education Writers Association of Nigeria, that hosted the event that we have today, and some of our very key partners. In terms of Dundee, they supported us throughout, and we are very honored to have Professor Peter Mafebi with us. He's been with us, he's been with us since Saturday. And you can see that he's actually part of the Moja. You can see the way he actually dressed. You're mistaken for him. So we would like to appreciate Aston University. Also, we have someone from Aston, that's Prince, who has been with us. Thank you so much. Of course, Stellenbosch University, we started this together. You see, the point they said about not only talking, we need to actually get our hands dirty. When we started this in 2019, I know we went out, for the community outreach program to some secondary school. I think we need to find a way to incorporate this in community engagement programs. Thank you so much, Stellenbosch University. And of course, University of Free State, thank you so much. We would love, I know that this is subject to discussion, we will actually love to host you every year. If you would like to come to Lagos, we might love to host you again next year, if this is the edition of everyone. So thank you so much. I hope there is another important partner, that is the Graduate Guidance Group. Emma, because she has left. We thank Emma so much for the support. And of course, our host, the student leaders from the University of Lagos, I can see the pipes, I can feel the pipes. And I think Nelly and others, we need to create a platform for them. We should not make this only like this 65 days affair. We need to actually engage every time. We need to create platforms to do that. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association had an engagement with them this morning, and they are saying that they would like to further engage with us, and they would like to really invite members of the show to their next Commonwealth Parliamentary Association event next year in Australia. So I think we need to engage, we need to continue the conversation. So thank you so much, everyone. We have very short break, just like 10-15 minutes just to grab because I know that Nelson Mandela gave his life to struggle. And I know that our bellies and stomachs are already grumbling. So we also need to show that we love Mandela by giving that right, to our stomach. So just for 10-15 minutes, let's just grab something, then we'll come back for it. And okay, we'll wait for other.
Thank you so much, Prof. I know we have left somebody who is actually the middleman between the university and, more importantly, and the journalists that we have there. EWAN does not relate to Unilag without the communication unit. So we recognize that Adejoke Alaga Ibrahim. Alaja, thank you so much for coming and thank you so much. And you can see it on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere. She has been doing wonderfully well. Thank you so much for the partnership. So we call Professor Isola, please can you come forward? Mandelas, please come forward. Prof, please come forward. Please just for the photograph. So others can just go and take a bite. So we need you outside, please. So please. Thank you so much. Professor Adebisi. Thank you. The moderator can please join. So we'll do it one after another. Yeah, do we have panelists? You can go. Just panelists.